Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Tourism and Hospitality Service Management, SOTHSM. Certificate in Tourism Studies, CTS. TS-1 Foundation Course in Tourism. Block-2 Tourism Industry. Unit-7 Statistics and Measurements. 7.0 Objectives. After reading this unit, you will be able to Times define statistics and statistical measures. Times appreciate the need for tourism statistics. Times flow about the problems of statistical measurement in relation to tourism statistics. And the methods of measurement. Times understand the nature of tourism statistics in India, and Times know about the relevance of tourism statistics in foreign exchange earnings. 7.1 Introduction. Tourism statistics are gathered and published by every country today. The WTO further collects it from all countries to make global appraisal and projections. Certain basic information is made available to us via these statistics which relate to different fields. At their face value, some of it may appear to be useless or unnecessary. However, in reality, they are relevant in many ways. This unit, after defining statistics and measurements, highlights the need for tourism statistics. It also introduces you to the type of statistics collected and its relevance to tourism industry. You can use them in relation to your own enterprise or job. This can be done at both macro as well as micro levels. 7.2 Statistics, Definition and Uses. The word statistics is used both as singular and plural nouns. In the plural sense, it refers to numerical facts pertaining to a body of objects or people. As a singular noun, it stands for the science that deals with the methods of collection of data and of the ways of analyzing them and drawing inferences. Statistics is a useful tool for the measurement of any quantitative phenomenon. One such tool is finding of averages. For example, one can measure the average height for students in a class or the average number of visitors to a monument per day, the average number of guests arriving at a hotel per day, or the average turnover of a souvenir shop at a tourist place. In the foregoing illustrations, all the students in a class, all the visitors to a monument, all the guests arriving at a hotel, or the turnovers for every day are called the populations in statistical studies. However, statistics cannot be used for the measurement of qualitative phenomenon like the color of a person or the taste of oranges. 7.3 Statistical measures. The most commonly used statistical measures for assessment and comparisons are times totals times confidence intervals, times averages times indices, times quartiles and fractiles times rate and ratios, times variances and deviations times coefficients, and times point estimates times multipliers. The totals refer to the count of all the units or the aggregate of all the values of the units in the population or the sample. For example, the number of tourists who visited a particular place during a year and the total expenditure incurred by them at the place of visit are totals. The aggregate of all the units in a system or region is called the population, and a part of it is called a sample. The list of all the visitors to a particular monument in a day constitute a population, and a few of the tourists selected for a survey on the same day make a sample. An average is the most representative value of a sample of units or the population. The most commonly used averages are arithmetic mean, median, mode, geometric mean, and harmonic mean, and are known as measures of central tendency. The arithmetic mean is the value per unit. It is obtained by dividing the total value by the total number of units. The average duration of stay of tourists at a particular place, average expenditure per tourist, etc., are best measured by using arithmetic mean. Median is the middle-most below if all the units are arranged in ascending or descending order. It is useful for the measurement of average room tariff and occupancy rates of Hotel rooms. Mode is the most frequently occurring value amongst all the values. While planning certain facilities like conference halls, river rafting equipments, etc., it is important to judge the most common size of the groups demanding such facilities. The mode value is thus a very useful measure in such cases. Geometric mean is the nth root of the product of all the values of observations in a study. Harmonic mean is the reciprocal of the arithmetic mean of the reciprocals of the observed values. Quartiles and fractiles are the values of the variables corresponding to 1/4 and 1/10 of the cumulative frequencies after arranging the values in ascending or descending order. The variances and deviations are known as measures of dispersion. They provide valuable information on the reliability of averages and other estimates. The common measures of dispersion are range, quartile deviation, mean deviation, and coefficient of variation. Range is the difference between the largest and the smallest value assumed by a variable. It is often used in tourism sector to indicate the variation in hotel tariff, expenditure levels, and duration of stay of tourists. Times quartile deviation is 1/2 of the difference between first and third quartiles. Times mean deviation about median is the arithmetic mean of the absolute values of deviations of observations from median, and times variance is the sum of squares of deviations of the observed values from arithmetic mean divided by the total number. Standard deviation is the square root of variance. The percentage ratio of standard deviation to the arithmetic mean is the coefficient of variation. Point estimates are the likely values of a population parameter obtained from a sample of observations. For example, the average expenditure per tourist in a place is normally obtained as a point estimate by surveying a sample of tourists. Confidence intervals are the intervals in which the value of a population parameter is expected to lie with a specified level of confidence or probability. These are also obtained from a sample of observations, as in the case of point estimates. Indices are dimensionless quantities used to measure changes over a period of time and geographical regions. The indices normally being used are price indices, growth indices, seasonality indices, etc. Tourist price indices are often worked out to measure the changes in prices as applicable to tourists. Growth indices are used to measure the past trends in tourist traffic, receipts, etc. Seasonality indices of tourists' arrivals are used to formulate marketing strategies and resource management decisions. Rates indicate value per unit item or growth per unit time. The rates of growth are often expressed in percentage terms. Ratios are fractions expressed usually in percentages. Coefficients are also dimensionless quantities used to measure certain phenomenon or relationship. For example, correlation coefficient is used to measure the degree of linear relationship between two or more variables, and regression coefficients are used to predict the value of one variable based on the values of other variables. Multipliers are certain numbers used to obtain total impact or value by multiplying the estimated direct impact or sample value respectively. 7.4 Need for tourism statistics. Tourism is a social phenomenon with significant economic consequences. The measurement of its volume and distribution along with its impact on specific geographic areas is, therefore, important for times having a proper perspective of the tourism sector and times planning its future development. The specific objectives of having tourism statistics are to provide a proper perspective for the activity to guide policy decisions. Times provide an objective basis for development planning. Times provide quantitative information for evolving marketing strategies, and times facilitate investment decisions. 7.4.1 Understanding the perspectives. In order to have a proper perspective of tourism in relation to any particular destination, or region, it is necessary to evaluate its magnitude and significance. While the magnitude is measured in terms of volume of tourist traffic, its significance is evaluated in terms of tourism receipts, value-added tax revenue, employment, etc. The basic measurement of volume is tourist visits or tourist arrivals. It is the total number of tourist arrivals at the given destination over a period of time, usually one whole year. The second main volume statistics is the average length of stay, which is measured in terms of days or nights at the destination. It provides a general indication of the nature of tourist traffic and the demand for tourist accommodation. The best single overall indication of the magnitude of tourist traffic to any destination is the total tourist days or nights. It is obtained by multiplying the tourist arrival figures with the average length of stay. The value of tourism to an economy is mainly reflected in the tourist expenditure at the destination or the tourism receipt. It encompasses expenditures on a wide variety of items, ranging from the purchase of consumer goods and services inherent in travel and stays to the purchase of small durable goods for personal use, as well as souvenirs and gifts for family and friends. In the case of international tourists, the payments made in respect of journeys to and from the destination normally do not accrue to the destination. They are therefore not included in the statistics of tourism receipts. However, fare payments by foreign visitors to national carriers for international transport represent income to the country visited. They are, therefore, evaluated separately and included in the tourism receipts. The tourist expenditure in the case of domestic tourists includes the cost of travel to and from destinations as well as expenditure at the place of visit. It is, thus, the total amount spent by tourists while away from home, including advance payments on such items as fares and accommodation. The average expenditure per tourist or per day is obtained by dividing the total tourist expenditure by the number of arrivals or the number of tourist days. While global estimates of tourist expenditure provide a general indication of the value of tourism to an economy, the averages provide general indications of the type and quality of the traffic to a destination. The statistics of value added, tax revenue, and employment due to tourism are obtained through industry surveys. The difference between the total value of output at X factory price and the value of material inputs is termed as value added. It is the sum total of factor payments in the form of rent, wages and salaries, interest and profit. The indirect taxes accruing to the government from tourists and tourism-related industries represent the tax revenue. The number of persons employed in hotels, restaurants and other tourism-related industries constitute direct employment due to tourism. The employment generated in other sectors of the economy due to the multiplier effect of tourism is termed as indirect employment. Point 7.4.2 Development and Planning. The planning for the development of tourism infrastructure involves an objective assessment of the existing demand for various tourism products and their levels of supply. It is also necessary to make realistic forecasts of both demand and supply based on past trends and policy guidelines. The demand can be either actual or potential. The demand which has already fructified into tourist visits is the actual demand, and that which is yet to be fructified is potential demand. The demand statistics, particularly tourist arrivals and tourist nights, have to be complied by type of accommodation, means of transport, places visited and facilities availed to estimate the demand on specific tourism products. Potential demand is usually assessed in terms of travel plans of target populations, positive response rates to advertisements, levels of awareness, etc. through market surveys at the source markets. The most important consideration in the planning of tourism projects in specific locations is the capacity to absorb tourism. It is assessed through various methods like tangible resources limits, tolerance by host population, satisfaction of visitors, excessive rate of growth or change, cost-benefit analysis and systems approach. The application of any of these methods for the measurement of carrying capacity requires massive data on tourist consumption patterns, resource constraints, changes in the behavioral patterns of local population, satisfaction levels of visitors, etc. Such data are usually gathered through special surveys of both the host community and the visitors. 7.4.3 Evolving Marketing Strategies. Tourism marketing is a follow-up of planning and development to maximize the economic gains from tourism. See Units 20 and 21. The identification of marketing segments, product positioning, and evolving of effective communication and marketing strategies are the essential elements of a marketing plan. The preparation of such marketing plans involve the collection and analysis of large volumes of data on various aspects including global trends, market segments, tourist profiles, destination features, strengths and weaknesses of the product, etc. The global trends on international tourism are usually obtained from the publications of international agencies like World Tourism Organization, Pacific Asia Travel Association, etc., and those of the originating countries. The trends on domestic tourism are obtained through tourist surveys or periodical statistical reporting systems. The market segmentation analysis involves the segmentation of total volume of tourist visits and nights by country, place of origin, purpose of visit, and psychographic groups. The formations of psychographic groups are based on their demographic profiles and behavioral patterns. The statistical variables usually being analyzed in this regard include demographic particulars like age, sex, education, occupation, nationality, country, place of residence, ethnic origin, personal habits like reading, film viewing, participation in sports and games, etc., and travel habits like taking package tours, traveling with family and friends, accommodation and means of transport used, participation in local events, travel planning and motivations. The destination features in terms of attraction and facilities available and types of tourists visiting along with the strengths and weaknesses of tourism products offered by a destination or country also need to be assessed for directing product development and marketing policies. 7.4.4 Facilitating investment decisions. Investment in any industry, including tourism, is always based on perceptions of return on investment and payback periods. The calculation of these parameters with a reasonable degree of accuracy requires statistical data on profitability of existing units. 7.5 Problems of measurement. The measurement of tourism phenomenon poses several problems. The identification of tourists from other travelers and the local population is a major task in the case of both international and domestic tourists. The problem is more severe in respect of domestic tourists as there are no border controls and administrative checks in their movements. International tourists are usually differentiated with the help of travel documents like passports, visas and embarkation-disembarkation cards. These documents are, however, not designed for the sole purpose of collecting tourism statistics, and as such their use is often restricted by other agencies and definitional problems. Very often, cooperation of tourists is required to gather statistics through surveys. The reliability of such measurements thus depends on the responses given by the tourists. A major problem in the measurement of economic impact of tourism is that the industry itself is not well defined. The tourism industry consists of several segments which cater to both tourists and the local population. It is also invariably not possible to make definite allocations between the two groups of consumers. Special statistical programs are therefore required to resolve these problems of identification and allocation. 7.6 Methods of measurement. The statistical measurements of tourist flows and their impact are generally obtained by surveying the visitors or the tourism production units at one or more of the following places: times place of visit or destination, times points of travel between the destination and the origin, times the usual place of residence. The different kinds of survey studies that can be carried out in each of the above places are the following. I. Survey studies at destination. Times counting by controlling the visitors at tourist sites. Times surveys of visitors at tourist sites. Times census and registration of accommodation units. Times survey of tourism production units. 2. Surveys at points of travel, between the destination and the origin. Times counting by administrative controls at the entry points. Times survey of passengers at the entry points. Times survey of passengers at some points along their journey. 3. Survey at the usual place of residence. Times household surveys of residents in the country. Times survey of companies, public administration units and institutions. Times survey of tourism intermediaries like travel agents, tour operators, air taxi operators, tourist transport operators, etc. The choice of any one or a combination of the above methods for the estimation of volume of tourism has to be based on the ultimate use of such estimates, operational convenience, levels of accuracy desired and resources available. However, the methods generally used are enumeration and surveys of visitors at the entry points, surveyor, census of accommodation units and household surveys of residents. The first method consists of counting the visitors from travel documents like embarkation, disembarkation cards at the entry points. It is widely used in the case of international tourists. The surveys of tourists at the entry points at the time of their departure are useful for obtaining profiles and behavioral patterns of international tourists apart from obtaining the total count of such visitors. Surveys or census of accommodation units are also often being employed for obtaining estimates of number of visitors and duration of stay of both international and domestic tourists at various places of visit. The household surveys are particularly useful for assessing the volume and distribution of domestic tourism, though they are often costly and time-consuming. Tourist expenditure statistics are obtained either by surveying the tourists or indirectly from the accounts of hotels, restaurants, and other providers of tourism services. The receipts from foreign tourists can also be estimated from the records of banks on foreign currency exchanges. 7.7 World tourist arrivals and receipts. Systematic measurement of tourist traffic is a recent phenomenon. It began only towards the beginning of 20th century when the volume of international tourist traffic began to reach significant proportions. The measurements were, thus, confined only to international visitors. The countries which emerged as tourist destinations and started estimating the traffic in the beginning of the century were Austria, Switzerland, and Italy. The foreign visitors received by these countries during 1929 were estimated to be 2, 15, and 1.25 million respectively. The global estimates of tourist arrivals and receipts are, however, available only from 1950. The total arrivals during that year were about 25.28 million, who spent $2.1 billion. There has been a phenomenal growth in tourist traffic since then, and the year 1992 recorded a total of 476 million world arrivals with an estimated receipt of $279 billion. According to WTO's latest figures, the historic ... half billion mark was achieved in 1993. 7. Is tourism statistics in India. Being a new entrant in the tourism industry, India does not have a well-developed statistical system. The earliest attempt for the collection of tourist arrival data was made only during 1951 when a count of the foreign visitors was taken on the basis of customs clearance documents. There has been considerable increase in statistical activities on tourism since then. The details of statistics presently available are described in the following paragraphs. 7.8.1 International tourist arrivals. The total arrivals during the year 1951 were 16,829. It took 25 years since then for tourist arrivals to cross 500,000 mark in 1976. 10 years later, in the year 1986, the tourist arrivals registered a remarkable growth of 29.1% and crossed the 1 million mark. These figures did not include the nationals of Pakistan and Bangladesh, as the arrivals from these countries were not counted in the earlier years up to 1980. The total arrivals during 1992 were 18,67,651, including 4,32,914 nationals of Pakistan and Bangladesh. The tourist arrivals in India are counted from disembarkation cards filled by the tourists at the time of their entry into the country. The total count is obtained by counting the relevant disembarkation cards. The details contained in these cards are transcribed into data sheets, entered into computers and tabulated centrally by the Department of Tourism, with the assistance of National Informatics Center, NIC. 7.8.2 Duration of stay. The average duration of stay of foreign tourists in India by nationalities is estimated on the basis of a sample of embarkation cards. The samples are selected linear systematically with an interval of selection of 10. All the embarkation cards of foreigners traveling by each flight are first arranged nationality-wise. A card is selected at random from the first 10. Every 10th card in the bundle is then selected in the sample. The date of arrival is noted from the immigration stamp and date of departure is available from the date of flight. The difference between the two is the duration of stay. The data were tabulated manually till 1990 and thereafter by using computers. The average length of stay of foreign tourists in India at present is about 29 days. 7.8.3 Indians going abroad. The count of Indians going abroad, outbound, is obtained from the embarkation cards collected at the ports checkposts at Bombay, Calcutta, Delhi, Madras, Trivandrum, Tiruchirappalli, Rameswaram, Nagpattinam, Atari Road, Haridaspur and Jogbani. Persons departing from other minor ports checkposts are not counted. These figures are not disaggregated either purpose-wise or destination-wise. The figures thus include even those going abroad for settlement and employment. 7.8.4 Domestic tourist statistics. The statistics of domestic tourists along with the data on foreign tourists visiting different places are collected from accommodation establishments. The state governments are required to collect the details of guests checked in the accommodation establishments. A. Each place every month and forward the same to the Central Department of Tourism. In the case of foreign tourists, the nationality-wise details are also collected in respect of some of the major nationalities. These figures are aggregated over centers to get the state totals. On the basis of these figures, the total number of domestic tourist visits in India in the year 1991 were about 66.44 million. 7.8.5 Foreign tourist surveys. Foreign tourist surveys are being taken up by the Central Department of Tourism almost once in 5 years. The latest survey in this regard was conducted during 1988 to 89. These surveys give information on the following: times demographic profile of tourists, times evaluation of tourism products of India and satisfaction levels of tourists, times motivational factors and purposes of visits of tourists, times places of visit of foreign tourists, / Times expenditure pattern of foreign tourists in India. 7.8.6 Ad hoc surveys. Ad hoc surveys like tourism potential surveys of different states and regions and cooperative market research studies in selected source markets are also often conducted for gathering data on present levels of tourist flows, infrastructural availability, market trends, etc. 7.9 Estimates of foreign exchange earnings. The estimates of foreign exchange earnings from tourism are worked out both by the Department of Tourism and Reserve Bank of India. The Reserve Bank of India, RBI, work out the estimates as a part of balance of payment statistics. The basic data used for the purpose are the returns furnished by the Times authorized dealers of foreign exchange. All foreign exchange transactions of ours 50,000 and above are categorized as classified receipts, and the authorized dealers provide information on the nationality of the beneficiary, currency and purpose for each such transaction. However, in the case of transactions below ours 50,000, the figures are clubbed together and reported as unclassified receipts. These unclassified receipts are apportioned according to purpose and country through a survey of unclassified receipts carried out by the RBI every year. These statistics are not available state-wise and region-wise. Quick estimates are worked out by the Department of Tourism by multiplying the number of tourist arrivals in a year by the estimated per capita expenditure of a foreign tourist in India. This is obtained by making adjustments for price changes in the average expenditure as revealed by RBI estimates for the latest available year or foreign tourist surveys. The wholesale price indices and average exchange rates are used for the purpose. In the case of nationals of Pakistan and Bangladesh, the quantum of foreign exchange being released by the respective governments for visiting India is used in place of per capita expenditure. These are $45 and $180 respectively. The estimated foreign exchange earning from tourists during 1992 was ours 3916 crores. 7.10 Summary. The unit has familiarized you with the relevance of statistics and measurements in tourism. It has bearings on future plans, destination development, indirect employment, etc. Besides, it also acquainted you with the most commonly used statistical measures. Problems faced in measuring tourism statistics were also touched upon in the Unit 2. Give you an idea of the limitations faced in this regard. The Department of Tourism, Government of India is the place from where such statistics can be obtained. State tourism departments also conduct surveys and provide tourism statistics. Thank you.